Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Next Day podcast. So, we are going to be doing our first bonus episode of the year. This is our January bonus. And again, we're just going to be kind of doing the same similar formatting of, doing articles and stuff like that. But we are going to be doing more topical stuff for the bonus episodes that we now have. So, with that being said, as you can tell, it's only me for this. You don't know if there'll be some popping in from Mikel at some point in the episode. It's kind of, we'll see how it goes kind of thing. But for the majority of the episode, it's just going to be me kind of doing a couple of topical things for our bonus. So, without further ado, we're just going to kind of go topic by topic. You're not going to know what the topics are ahead of time. We're just going to do topic by topic. So, let's get started. So, first topic. So, we've actually done something similar to this last year, but new laws and rules coming to Ontario in January. So, some of these have already become in effect, but let's kind of go through that. So, multiple new laws and regulations in Ontario are set to take effect next month that will impact local workers, or January this month, that will affect local workers as well as residents across the country actually probably some of these before the year even last year came to an end. The federal government and the Ontario government will both be introducing new rules this December, so last December, and here are some of the ones that you should be aware of. So here we go. GST/HST relief. So Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a 2-month GST relief on groceries and a $250 rebate for some Canadians ahead of the costly holiday season. The temporary tax break will apply to a number of essential items, including childcare products, as well as beer, wine, cider, groceries, books, Christmas trees, and decorative items for the holidays. The GST cuts will also apply to restaurant meals and takeout. The tax break will begin, or has begun, on December 14th, and it will come to an end on February 15th. The federal government estimates that removing the GST from qualifying foods for 2 months will provide $1.6 billion in federal tax relief. So, for example, a family spending $2,000 on qualifying foods such as children's clothing, shoes, diapers, snacks for the house or restaurant meals would realize GST savings of $100 over the 2-month period. In provinces where the HST will also be removed from qualifying goods, which includes Ontario, the same $2,000 basket of qualifying purchases would realize HST savings of $260 over the 2 months. So, quote, as the holidays approach, or as they have approached, families, especially parents, are particularly worried. Canadians have been through a lot, and this was said by Prime Minister Trudeau. We've been able to get through the past couple of years. Everyone had to tighten their belts a little bit, and now we're going to be able to give a tax break for all Canadians. The federal government also revealed the new Working Canadians rebate, which will send Canadians who worked in 2023 and earned up to $150,000 a $250 check in April. Mortgage reforms. So back in September, the federal government announced a set of reforms to remove barriers to home ownership, especially for millennials and Gen Z. Starting in August, new mortgage rules allowed 30-year-old insured mortgage amortization for first-time home buyers purchasing new builds. During the same announcement, the government also announced that it would be increasing the insured mortgage cap the first time since 2012 to $1.5 million effective December 15th. The increase aims to reflect current housing market realities and help more Canadians qualify for a mortgage with a down payment below 20%. The reforms also expand eligibility for 30-year mortgage amortizations to all first-time homebuyers and to all buyers of new builds starting December 15th to reduce the cost of monthly mortgage payments. Next, new registration for personal support workers in Ontario. So the provincial government announced in June that it was aiming to improve consistency and patient understanding in the healthcare system through new changes that would allow personal support workers, PSWs, to register with new health and supportive care providers oversight authority. The changes aim to provide better oversight in the healthcare system, support patient confidence, and help PSWs and PAs deliver connected and convenient care across the province. Quote, our government is taking bold action to grow and support Ontario's healthcare workforce now and for years to come. And this was said by Sylvia Jones, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health at the time. Through these changes, our government is reinforcing the critical role personal support workers and physician assistants play in our healthcare system while supporting the confidence of patients and their families. Beginning December 1st, the more than 100,000 PSWs in Ontario will have the option to register with the new HSCPOA, which will deliver consistent education and training for workers regardless of where they work and if they are part-time or full-time. Workers registered with the authority will be listed on an online public register and be easily identified with the HSCPOA's quality mark on their identification badge or paperwork in order to show employers, patients, and their families proof of registration. Changes to Ontario's rules of civil procedure. So starting December 1st, the Ontario government will be enacting a series of legislative changes to the rules of civil procedure. Yike. This one's directed at me, y'all. Let's do this. So the changes require any party who submits a factum or expert report at trial, on appeal, or in judicial review application to the court to file a signed certificate of authenticity. Great. According to Pallet Vallow lawyers, this certificate must state that the, quote, submitting party is satisfied with the authenticity of all authorities cited in the relevant documents. Sources that are published on a government website or scholarly journals will be presumed authentic unless proven otherwise. The changes highlight the importance of authentic authorities in court, especially in the face of increased artificial intelligence use in legal research. Very, very, very true. But that's the end of the article. Thanks to BlockTO for that article. Let's move on. So this next article is about Ontario is passing a bill that allows major Toronto bike lanes to be ripped out. So let's get into this. The Ontario government has officially passed Bill 212, which is a controversial piece of legislation that gives the province sweeping control over municipal bike lanes and lets construction of Highway 413 begin before Indigenous consultation or environmental assessment is complete. The fast-tracked bill, which passed at Queen's Park, I believe this would have been just a few weeks, about a month or so ago, requires municipalities to ask the province for permission to install bike lanes when they would remove a lane of vehicle traffic. It also goes a step further and allows the removal of 3 major Toronto bike lanes. These are on Bloor Street, Yonge Street, and University Avenue. Though the specifics of if all 3 of those lanes or just sections of them will be ripped out remains up in the air at this time. Provincial officials have provided few concrete statements about their plans, despite being pressed about them for weeks. Many cycling advocates have protested the move, obviously, saying, quote, "This legislation has the potential to revolutionize the way we deliver priority highway projects in Ontario, and it would bring a common sense approach to installing bike lanes on city streets to ensure they don't impede the flow of traffic." And this is said by Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria, and this was said during the bill's final reading. Sarkaria said the province will establish a clear set of criteria for reviewing municipalities' requests to install bike lanes, including effects on traffic volume, road safety, and emergency response times, saying, quote, "If we do determine the building those bike lanes would make congestion worse, they will not get built." The province will also review bike lane projects that have begun in the past 5 years. This is said by the minister, saying, quote, "It will be a data-driven process." Critics suggest the move to remove the Toronto lanes is based on a little more than anecdotal evidence and complaints about from some local business owners. Much like the bike lane, portions of the legislation B212 has also drawn concern from Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation because it would also work to begin on Highway 413 before an Indigenous consultation is finished and exempts the project from the Environmental Assessment Act. Highway 413 would be a 52-kilometer highway that connects Peel, Halton, and York, much of which falls within treaty lands. In connecting those regions, the highway would cut across wetlands, rivers, forests, and agricultural areas, according to the outgoing director of the Department of Consultation for Mississaugas of the Credit. Speaking in advance of the bill's passing, opposition NDP leader Marit Stiles slammed the provincial government and said officials should be focusing on things that really matter to Ontarians, like a shortage of family doctors and soaring rents. Amen. We have a premier who is so focused on his vanity projects, amen, and fighting battles that he costs on Toronto City Council, instead of actually focusing on the priorities of Ontarians. Amen, girlfriend. Honestly. I don't know much about much, but I agree with her on that. People are really fed up with the fact that this premier is so obsessed with downtown Toronto. Stiles also touched on a last-minute amendment to the bill from last week, which appears to protect not last week, but a month ago, which appears to protect the government from lawsuits should someone be hurt or killed after the removal of bike lanes. Saying, quote, "They're more worried about protecting their own behinds than they are about protecting the lives of road users." Green Party leader Mike Schreiner echoed that sentiment in a statement and said introducing legal protections as an amendment to the original bill shows just how much the province values the lives of people who bike. This government knows that this bill is going to make commuting more dangerous, and they're plowing ahead anyway. And they're using the tax dollars of people in Kitchener, Sarnia, Huntsville, and North Bay to do it. Quote, "Slashing environmental laws, ramming through expensive highway projects, ripping out bike lanes, none of these things are going to reduce gridlock. They're actually going to make it worse because more highways and more cars on the road means more time spent sitting in traffic." It's a very good point. Liberal House Leader John Fraser said the government seemingly protecting itself from the consequences of its own decision-making indicates officials weren't fully considering what it was doing when crafting the legislation. They're in such a hurry to do it. They're saying, hey, let's protect ourselves from any future liability because we made this really quick, rash decision because we want to get elected. An early Ontario election is expected, as we know, this year, though provincial officials have yet to commit to one. Sarkuria has said the province will foot the bill for bike lane removal costs, but also that he doesn't believe the city of Toronto's estimated price tag of $48 million, as it is double the price tag of the initial installation. He suggested, however, that the province did not come up with its own cost estimates before proposing to remove the existing bike lanes. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario has denounced the province for new legislation, calling it a, quote, significant overreach and an unwanted incursion into municipal jurisdiction. In an overall bid to ease gridlock, Bill 212 also facilitates 24-hour-a-day construction of accelerates property acquisitions. And that is that article. Next article that we're going to go through. So this is Canada, $430 one-time rent relief payment in 2024, eligibility and income limit explained in this particular article. So let's go through it. The government of British Columbia is set to implement significant enhancements to its housing assistance initiatives, explicitly targeting the shelter aid for elderly renters, SAFER, and the rental assistance program, RAP. These improvements include the introduction of a one-time rental benefit of $430, which aims to provide immediate financial relief to low-income seniors and families impacted by the rising cost of living and housing expenses. This initiative, supported by a combination of provincial and federal funding totaling nearly $28 million, represents a proactive approach to ensuring that vulnerable populations in British Columbia have access to affordable housing solutions. The funding for these initiatives includes a $12.3 million one-time federal contribution through the Canada Housing Benefit and an additional $15.6 million from the province of British Columbia, underscoring a significant investment in the long-term sustainability of these programs. Central to these enhancements is introducing a one-time rental benefit of $430 designed to provide immediate financial relief to current recipients of SAFER and RAP. This initiative is part of a broader commitment by the provincial government to ensure that vulnerable populations can maintain stable and affordable housing in the face of economic pressures. The government of British Columbia has introduced several critical improvements to the Shelter Aid for Elderly Renters, SAFER, and Rental Assistance Program, RAP, to better support low-income seniors and families. These changes are designed to adjust the programs to the current economic realities and housing market conditions. So, enhancements to this SAFER program are as follows. Increased income eligibility. So the income eligibility limit for SAFER has been raised from $33,000 to $37,240, allowing an estimated additional 4,800 seniors to qualify for assistance. Increased minimum benefit. The minimum monthly benefit has doubled from $25 to $50. This change guarantees a minimum annual support of $600 for beneficiaries, providing more substantial financial assistance. Annual review of rent ceilings. Rent ceilings, which are critical in determining the subsidy amount for each applicant, will now be reviewed and potentially adjusted annually to ensure they align with the current housing market conditions. Public awareness campaign. To ensure that more seniors are aware of the benefits available to them through SAFER, the government is initiating a public awareness campaign. So improvements to RAP program. While not detailed in the changes as extensively as SAFER, the RAP program benefits indirectly from the general increase in awareness and funding to support vulnerable populations in housing need. The program continues to assist low-income working families with dependent children by providing monthly subsidies to help cover the cost of rent. Statements from key government officials publicly support the enhancements to the shelter aid for elderly renters and the rental assistance program in British Columbia. These statements underline the commitment of both provincial and federal governments to address housing affordability and provide support to vulnerable populations. So Ravi Kahlon, who's BC's housing minister, highlighted the importance of the updates to the SAFER program, emphasizing that these changes are intended to help seniors and low-income families better manage their living expenses. He stated that the enhancements and the new one-time rental benefit are crucial measures to help ensure that more seniors and families can continue to afford their homes. Callan's remarks reflect the provincial government's proactive approach to mitigating the impact of the cost of living increases on its residents, ensuring they can maintain stable housing. Sean Fraser, who is the Federal Minister of Housing, Infrastructure, and Communities, pointed out that the federal funding contribution through the Canada Housing Benefit is part of a more significant national effort known as the National Housing Strategy. His statement indicates that the one-time funding is designed to alleviate the immediate financial burden on British Columbians, fitting into a broader strategy to make housing affordable nationwide. Fraser emphasized the federal government's ongoing commitment to working with other levels of government to tackle housing challenges comprehensively, ensuring that every Canadian has access to safe and secure housing. So that's basically that article. Let's move on to the next article. So Canadians working in certain fields can expect a big pay bump in 2025. So Canadian workers could see their salaries rise next year, but this bump will depend on the field they work in. A new salary forecast by recruitment company Randstad Canada provides insight into what Canadians could expect to earn in 2025. So inflation rates may have dropped, but the cost of living certainly hasn't. Housing and food remain expensive, and only 57% of Canadian employers offer salaries that allow workers to meet these rising costs. Saying, quote, not adjusting compensation to the cost of living can undermine employee attractiveness and retention. And this was warned by Brent Dole, Executive Vice President at Randstad Canada. He continued to say, quote, offering appropriate support is not only a sign of commitment to teams, but also a lever for standing out in a market where competition for talent is fierce. So if you work in any of the following fields, we're going to go through them, you can look forward to a significant pay rise in 2025. So there's continued demand for workers in the skilled trades, technology, and engineering sectors. The need for these skills will remain high enough that the report predicts that automation technicians and electromechanical, for example, will see an 8% pay bump. It's an excellent time to be in IT. As more companies integrate digital technology into all business areas, there's a greater need for workers with technological experience and skills. For example, cloud architects will likely see their salaries rise by 10%. Those in more senior roles can expect an average salary of $132,000. Digital marketing specialists continue to be in demand as more companies focus on promoting their products and services online. Quote, digitization remains an essential pillar in a rapidly expanding business environment, reads the report. As demand in this field continues to rise, so will salaries. Workers can expect an average salary increase of 9% from $68,000 to $74,120 for intermediate positions. As companies navigate the changing economic landscape, financial management skills are needed more than ever. That means that in 2025, compensation analyst salaries will increase by 7% to an average of $80,250 for intermediate positions. If you work in human resource management, 2025 will be a great year for you. As companies continue to invest in creating inclusive and healthy work environments, these roles will see the highest pay rise among other in-demand fields. Next year, salaries will go up by 12%, with senior salaries going up from an average of $110,000 to $123,200. However, according to the report, a competitive salary isn't the only thing employees seek. In all, 93% of employees value work-life balance as much as salary. Quote, offering flexible working hours, hybrid work, and recognition for wellness programs enables companies to meet employee expectations while fostering an attractive and inclusive work environment. So that is that article. We're going to change gears a little bit, and we're going to be talking about what to expect from Disney with the movies that are going to be coming out this year. So let's get into that. Hollywood is gearing up for an exciting lineup of adaptations that promise to bring some beloved animated classics back to life on the big screen in live action format. Whether you want to be transported to magical kingdoms far, far away, or set sail to Hawaiian shores, or even join the Vikings in battle, these films, from The Lion King prequel, Mufasa, The Lion King, to Snow White, and How to Train Your Dragon, are set to captivate audiences of all ages. So here's a glimpse into what we can get there. So Mufasa, The Lion King. So 5 years after the epic live-action remake of The Lion King comes an all-new prequel, Mufasa, The Lion King. This new film is set for, it's been out already, I believe, so December 20th release. Explores the untold story of Mufasa's rise from an orphaned cub to king. I mean, I get it. I get why Scar's pissed. Y'all, I get it. So this was directed by Barry Jenkins. The movie delves deep into the lion's origin story and how his rivalry with his brother Scar began. While the Hollywood voice cast will include a bunch of heavyweights, fans in India have a lot to look forward to, as it will mark the debut of Shah Rukh Khan's youngest son, Abram Khan. I'm not sure who that is, but I guess it's a big deal. Next movie, How to Train Your Dragon. So ready to see Hiccup and Toothless back in action? Yes. Yes, I am. I love Toothless, y'all. Okay. We sure are after watching that epic trailer that dropped. I haven't seen the trailer, but apparently a trailer dropped, I guess, last month. Not sure. Don't know. But this one is directed by Dean Dubois. The adaptation promises to stay true to the heartwarming story of the Viking boy who befriends a dragon. Going by the teaser, the film not only brings the dragons to life, but also incorporates the stunning visuals that made the animated film a blockbuster. So, The film is set for a June 13th, 2025 release and features a cast including Mason Thames as Hiccup, Nico Parker as Astrid, Gerard Butler as... Oh my god. Oh my god. That is a good... That's good. That's good. They did good. Again, if no one understands, he plays the father in the cartoon movie. And Julian Dennison as Fish Legs. Lilo and Stitch. So, we all bawled our eyes out watching the animated classic. Now Lilo and Stitch are coming back to screens in live action format for another sci-fi adventure that promises to be as emotional as it is humorous. With CGI technology bringing Stitch to life and a young newcomer, Maya, that's not her name, right? Cast as Lilo. Maya Kilowa. Sorry if I said your name wrong or whatever. She's cast as Lilo. The film promises to retain the charm of its animated predecessor, directed by Dean Fleischer Camp. Whatever. The movie is expected to land in cinemas sometime in 2025. Snow White, one that me and Mikel have been talking about since the beginning of this podcast. We talked about it in our first episode. The classic fairy tale that started Disney's animated legacy is getting a live-action remake, this time with Rachel Zegler as Snow White and Gal Gadot as the evil queen. This time around, the film is rumored to give a darker spin to the famed fairy tale with a feminist reimagining because, as we've talked about, directed by Mark Webb, the movie is slated for a March 21st, 2025 release. We'll see how that one goes. Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So Sonic is back for a third high-speed adventure. Did not see one nor two. This time he has his friends Knuckles and Tails lending him a hand to battle Shadow, a mysterious new enemy with powers unlike anything they've faced before. The film is set to deliver more action-packed sequences and deeper lore from the franchise, with returning cast members including James Marsden and my favorite ever, Jim Carrey. The film releases on December 27th, actually of 2024, so how about it? Moana. I think this is one that they're talking about the live action one. So it may still be under a decade since we first set sail with Moana. Well, Moana 2 has only come out last month. But thanks to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the animated film is getting its live action remake. With the actor set to reprise his role as Maui, the Thomas Kail directorial sees Catherine Lagia, I'm sorry if I didn't say the name right, taking on the role, although much of the plot has been kept under wraps. Moana, which is slated for July 10th, 2026, actually, release, will feature an all-new cast including John Tui as Chief Tui, Rena Owen as Grandma Tala, and Frankie Adams as Sina. But that is it for that article. All right, next topic. So, notorious killer and rapist Paul Bernardo has been denied parole for a third time, thank God, after the families of his victims made an emotional plea to the Parole Board of Canada. This would have been about a month and a half to 2 months ago, which will keep him behind bars. So the Parole Board noted that while Bernardo has made some progress, okay, he's a psychopath. He can just mold himself to seem like he's made progress, but I digress. There is still significant concern about his risk of sexual, recidivism. I said it, I got there. His narcissistic personality and the results of his clinical assessments, among other issues. Yeah, okay. The two-member panel, which deliberated for approximately 30 minutes after the hearing, said its decision also considered the extremely violent and serial nature of Bernardo's crimes and his designation as a dangerous offender. Bernardo was serving an indeterminate life sentence for the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of 15-year-old Kristen French and 14-year-old Leslie Maffey in the early 1990s near St. Catharines, Ontario, which we did talk about this case in a previous episode. I don't remember which episode we talked about this. It's about a year ago. The 60-year-old told the board he was primarily seeking day parole at a halfway house or at a minimum escorted absences from prison so that he can attend a community program for sex offenders. The board denied both. Thank God. The victims' families made an impassioned case against Bernardo's bid for release and said they have been re-traumatized every time his parole hearings come up. The biggest destruction of the peace and joy and hope in my life has been and remains Bernardo. This was said by Leslie's mother, Debbie Maffey, and she told us to the parole board at the La Macasa institution in Quebec, where Bernardo is currently being held. I remain hopeful that you understand the sadistic, manipulative, and psychopathic nature of Bernardo's behavior and the endless threat he represents to public safety, she continued to say. Maffey, who spoke of her struggle to forget the horrors of Leslie's death, was overcome by emotion as she delivered her victim impact statement. Tim Danson, who is a lawyer representing the French and Maffey families, finished reading the statement on her behalf, urging the board to deny Bernardo any type of release due to the heinousness of his crimes and his lack of remorse. Yeah. To further go back in the history here, Bernardo was also convicted of manslaughter in the December 1990 death of his then wife, Carla Homolka's 15-year-old sister, Tammy. He ultimately admitted to raping other girls and women beginning in the late 1980s as the Scarborough rapist. Homolka, as we know, served 12 years in prison after pleading guilty to manslaughter for her role in the crimes against Kristen French and Leslie Maffey. Kristen's mother, Donna French, who delivered her victim impact statement remotely, spoke of the senseless and brutal loss her family has endured for decades, saying, quote, "It has been more than 32 years since my daughter Kristen was abducted, sexually assaulted, beaten to within an inch of her young life, tormented, humiliated, and murdered, then dumped by the side of a road like a piece of trash. They say that time heals, but I don't for a minute believe that, for I have not healed." I'm trying not to get emotional. Whoa. Danson had previously said that that because the parole board initially denied his clients the right to attend Bernardo's hearing in person, a last-minute reversal of that decision meant that Donna French was unable to travel to Quebec on Tuesday, or on the day of the hearing, not Tuesday, but on the day of the hearing, that's angering a little bit. The parole board also heard via video conference from other members of the French family and Leslie's brother, Ryan Maffey. He was 7 years old at the time of his sister's death. And he said that Bernardo didn't just steal his mentor and best friend, he also stole his parents. He said, quote, "As a child, I lost one of the largest parts of my world, and to my mother and father's own grief, I lost them." He told the board that the perpetual hell Bernardo bestowed upon my family gave him nightmares as a child and left him struggling with interpersonal relationships as an adult. He said that when he became a father, he and his partner agonized over what to name their kids. Quote, "We want to honor Leslie by name, but couldn't for fear of what they will find when they or others Googled their names." So he said Bernardo's actions haunt the simplest details of my life, including Father's Day, the day he murdered her. Bernardo was transferred to the medium security La Macasa institution from maximum security Ontario prison last year, actually. In a decision that caused public outcry, the board heard that the Correctional Service of Canada did not support releasing Bernardo on parole and believed he hadn't met all of the criteria for escorted or unescorted temporary absences from prison. Under questioning by the two board members, Bernardo said he believed he was ready to gradually step back into society. You're insane. Get, quote, more help and ultimately find employment and a place to live. They also didn't get to do those things. They didn't get to get help for anything that they could have dealt with or get a job as adults or get to find a place to live for themselves. But you want those things? Okay. Let me continue with the article. He said he would stay in Quebec if granted parole and was planning to soon start taking French lessons in prison. Bernardo suggested that he has gained clarity and introspection since arriving at La Macasa. He showed no visible emotion as he discussed his crimes and victims at the beginning, or at the hearing, but choked up at times as he discussed his mother and the sexual abuse he said she endured in her own life. He told the parole board that he began committing sexual offenses as a way to exact revenge for his mother's suffering. I'm sorry. And for the pain he felt after his father rejected him for not being his biological son. Now, that might be a little more truthful than the other thing he wants us to believe. When the parole board questioned how victimizing girls and women could be seen as revenge in his case, Bernardo said he wanted to, quote, pay the world back. Okay, by victimizing other women for something that was done to your mother who was a woman. Quote, I became a sexual sadist. There's no doubt about that, he said, adding that while he has no excuse for his crimes, he had adopted a victim stance as a result of his difficult childhood and teenage years. The parole board pointed out that many people face adversity in their early years, but they don't become sexual offenders and killers. The board is expected to release detailed written reasons for its decision within only a couple of days of that hearing. So then I'm going to probably say it's probably out already at this point as you're listening to this. But this particular report by the Canadian Press was first published on November 26th, 2024. So, yep, that's that. I want to talk about it because I know we have definitely talked about this case before. So I wanted to kind of talk about the fact that thank God he has been denied parole again. But that's it for this topic. Okay, so next topic. So IRCC, so that's Immigration Refugee Center, is ending its grandfathering for study permit extensions. So in a webinar that came out on November 29th, the IRCC said that if a student has changed their program of study from what was written on their letter of acceptance and they need to extend their study permit, they will lose their grandfathered status and must meet the field of study requirements to be eligible for a PGWP. So the clarification is related to the new PWGP eligibility requirements that took effect on November 1st of 2024, which laid out a list of 966 study programs with a few added since that are eligible for postgraduate work permits as determined by the country's labor market needs. The update has been shared in technical briefings, but has not yet been published on the IRCC website. Students who had their study permits before November 1st were grandfathered into being PGWP eligible, even if their program of study wasn't tied to a CIP code that determines its eligibility under the new rules. Now, unless the students change to a PGWP eligible program, if they need to extend their permit, They will not be able to remain in Canada on a work permit after graduation. So saying, quote, in my little college, that could be 23% of students. Changing your program of study should not have negative life-altering consequences. This was said by Larissa Strong, who is the director of international at the College of the Rockies in British Columbia. Quote, we have lost the students and education in this decision and are only considering the labor market and immigration outcomes. After the new requirements announced in October and quickly implemented the following month, stakeholders expressed relief that current students were grandfathered under the existing rules, but those who need to extend their permits will now lose out on this. Instances where students need to extend their study permit are commonplace among domestic and international students. For example, if a student completes a term of studies and then decides to change their program, which happens all the time, among other reasons that cause students to study for longer than the originally prescribed program. Stakeholders reacting to the news on LinkedIn expressed dismay at the short-sightedness of the rules that were out of touch with the student journey. Addressing the CBIE conference in November 2024, Immigration Minister Mark Miller told delegates, quote, it should always be remembered that I am the Minister of Immigration. The awarding of a postgraduate work permit is a privilege. The awarding of a student permit is a privilege. Quote, my foremost concern is the integrity of the immigration system, so dealing with basic elements of fraud and people gaming the system and making sure we have an international visa program that is designed to do what it is designed to do, and I think we've veered away from that. In the webinar on November 29th, the IRCC added that all PGWP applications, except for those from flight school graduates, submitted on or after November 1st, must also comply with the new language requirements included in the eligibility criteria. So for university students graduating from bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs, all fields of study remain eligible for PWGP, but other university programs and all college-level programs must now meet the new criteria. Reacting to the policy changes in October, sector leaders expressed support for fostering alignment between PGWP opportunities and labor market needs. Many details of the policy raised alarm in an already volatile sector. So that's the end of that topic. Next. So, guys, I'm sorry for what I'm about to talk about, but we're going to be talking a little bit about our new President-elect Donald Trump, who is now aiming to end birthright citizenship. And this is being said by the American citizens with family here legally that might potentially have to be deported. So, President-elect Donald Trump said in an interview with Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker that, quote, you have no choice but to deport everyone who is illegally in the U.S., including possibly removing the American citizen family members of those departed. Trump also said he will move to end birthright citizenship, long enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which would strip rights from those born in the country to undocumented parents. But he said he is open to working with Democrats to pass legislation that would ensure dreamers, undocumented immigrants who entered the U.S. as children, would be able to remain in the country. Trump's comments about his mass deportation plan, a key promise of his presidential campaign, were the most expansive since he won the election in November. The program, he said, will begin with undocumented immigrants who have committed crimes and then advance to people outside of criminals, whatever that means. He did not detail which crimes would be included. Quote, I think you have to do it, Trump said of his deportation effort It's a very tough thing to do. Sure, sure, sure. It's, but you have to have, you have to have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. I mean, fair? Anyway, we have to get the criminals out of our country, Trump said, later adding, but we're starting with the criminals and we got to do it. Then we're starting with others and we're going to see how it goes. Asked by Welker, who are the others? And Trump responded, others are other people outside of criminals. Great. There was a large increase in the number of unauthorized immigrants crossing into the U.S. during President Joe Biden's time in office, though that number has fallen following executive actions in recent months. Tightening restrictions around the U.S. border with Mexico was the forefront of Trump's candidacy, much as it was during his first run in 2016. Trump and allies routinely highlighted acts of violence committed by undocumented immigrants to bolster their case. A 2024 study from the National Institute of Justice found that Texas arrest records between 2012 and 2018 showed undocumented immigrants were arrested at less than half the rate of native-born Americans for violent crimes. Yeah, if I can believe that. Trump also described scenarios in which U.S. citizens might choose to be deported, along with family members in the country illegally. His comments echoed Tom Homan, his pick to serve as border czar in the upcoming administration, in saying that he will be deporting families with mixed immigration status together. Quote, let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, said by Welker, but the kids are here illegally. And Trump says, I don't want to be breaking up families, but sure he does. So the other way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back. Welker also asked about the zero tolerance policy during Trump's first term, where families would be separated at the border as a means of deterrence for those who chose to enter the U.S. illegally. Trump eventually ended the practice. Quote, we don't have to separate families. We'll send the whole family very humanely, back to the country where they came. So no more family separations, Welker asked again. You're not reviving the zero tolerance policy. Trump says it depends on the family. Okay, well, it shouldn't depend on the family, my guy. But anyways, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out, or they can all go out together. On birthright citizenship, Trump said he would seek to repeal it via executive action, which would be certain to spark immediate legal challenges. Trump says we have to add it, or end it, calling it ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Trump suggested that birthright citizenship is uniquely American, saying we're the only country that has it. No, you're not. But according to a review by the Library of Congress, more than 30 nations provide birthright citizenship, including Canada and Brazil. Like I said, no, we're not. The president-elect used a softer tone than when discussing Dreamers, those who arrived in the U.S. nearly 20 or more years ago as children and are covered under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA for short, program that has allowed them to remain in the country and work legally. We have to do something about the Dreamers, because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country. I will work with the Democrats on a plan. Good to know you have a half a heart. They were brought into this country many years ago, but some of them are no longer young people. In many cases, they've become successful because we can't let go of our successes. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses, so they are contributing to society. Why give that up? Some cases, they might have large businesses, and we're going to have to do something with them, which is what? What are you going to do with them? Oh, man. But, anyways, that's it for that topic. Let's move on to the next. And again, this is still Trump related, but we're shifting gears a little bit here. I think this is quite interesting. Um, so, New York prosecutors say that President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House should not undermine the decision of 12 jurors who found him guilty of dozens of felonies back in May, telling the judge overseeing the case that the conviction should stand. Quote, this court should reject Trump's motion to immediately dismiss the indictment and vacate the jury's guilty verdict based on the outcome of the recent presidential election, said by the prosecutors for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg wrote in their filing, which was made public in December. There are no grounds for such relief now prior to defendant's inauguration because president-elect immunity does not exist. Soon after Trump's election in November, his defense lawyers promised to urge Justice Juan Merchan to toss his indictment in the hush money case and set aside the verdict. They made their motion on December 2nd, hinging their push to discard the will of 12 jurors who sat for the 7-week trial on an unlikely subject, President Biden's son, Hunter. Trump's attorney said the announcement of Hunter Biden's controversial pardon echoed Trump's complaints about his prosecution, claiming it was politically driven. Prosecutors did not mention either Biden or the pardon in their response filing. They hit back against the core of Trump's effort to set aside his conviction. Trump's lawyers, two of whom are slated to take on senior roles in the Justice Department after Trump's inauguration, that feels, I don't know, weird. That's suspicious. Have urged that it would be, have argued that it would be unconstitutional for an incoming president to carry the burden of a guilty verdict reached before his election. Quote, Trump's suggestion that his subsequent election superseded the jury's verdict is deeply misguided, prosecutors wrote. As this court carefully and correctly instructed the jury, it was the impaneled jurors who were deciding whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty, because only these jurors, not the general electorate, I'm fine, heard all the evidence in this trial. Prosecutors argued Trump's lawyers are trying to effectively extend the period of Trump's immunity to a time before his presidency by wiping out the effects of an indictment and jury verdict that took place before he was even re-elected president. Trump's sentencing has been postponed 3 times since the conviction in May. It was initially scheduled for July 11th, but Merchan pushed that date back to Trump's attorneys so Trump's attorneys could file a separate motion to dismiss following a landmark Supreme Court ruling. The nation's highest court concluded in early July that former presidents could not be charged for official acts, and evidence related to their official work as president could not be used as evidence against them. Merchan has not ruled on that motion. He postponed the second sentencing date, which was scheduled for September 18th, after Trump's lawyers argued it was too close to the election. After Trump's election victory on November 5th, they demanded a November 26th sentencing date be postponed so they could file the new motion to dismiss the case revolving around his return to the White House. Bragg's office said in its filing it would be open to postponing sentencing and other proceedings until after Trump's term in office, which ends in 2029. If Trump is not sentenced before his inauguration, there is also no legal barrier to deferring that sentencing until after the end of his presidency. Prosecutors also floated terminating the case with a notion that the jury verdict has not been vacated and the indictment has not been dismissed, an option they acknowledge is typically used when defendants die before case proceedings conclude. Especially given the novelty of defendants' own immunity claims, it would hardly be improper for this court to exercise its inherent authority to consider novel remedies, such as adopting a version of the Alabama rule in the context of this unique case. The judge's decision will be the latest moment in the case to set a historical precedent. Trump was the first person to be elected president after being convicted of crimes. When the unanimous jury concluded in May, he was guilty of 34 counts, all counts, of falsifying business records. He became the first former president ever convicted of crimes. In March 2023, Trump became the first former president ever indicted when a grand jury concluded he should be charged. The case focused on a cover-up of a hush money payment to an adult film star, as we know that's Stormy Daniels. Trump authorized a scheme to conceal reimbursements to a lawyer who made the payment days before Trump's first election. Trump pleaded not guilty in the case and has promised to appeal his conviction. Yeah, but that is it for that topic. I think now the last and final topic, we'll see. Maybe there'll be another one. We'll see. But we'll say roughly the last topic. They're going to end off on a better note here. So Biden has commuted roughly 1,500 sentences and pardons 39 people in biggest single-day act of clemency. So, U.S. President Joe Biden is commuting the sentences of roughly 1,500 people who were released from prison and placed on home confinement during the coronavirus pandemic and is pardoning 39 Americans convicted of nonviolent crimes, its largest single-day act of clemency in modern history. The commutations announced Thursday are for people who have served out home confinement sentences for at least 1 year after they were released. Prisons were uniquely bad for spreading the virus, and some inmates, as we know, were released in part to stop the spread. At one point, 1 in 5 prisoners had COVID-19, according to a tally kept by the Associated Press. Biden said he would be taking more steps in the weeks ahead and would continue to review clemency petitions. The second largest single-day act of clemency was by Barack Obama, with 330 shortly before leaving office in 2017. Quote, America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances, Biden said in a statement. As president, I have the great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life and contribute to their communities, and taking steps to remove sentencing disparities for nonviolent offenders, especially those convicted of drug offenses. The clemency follows a broad pardon for his son Hunter, who was prosecuted for gun and tax crimes. Biden is under pressure from advocacy groups to pardon broad swaths of people, including those on federal death row, before the Trump administration takes over in January. He's also weighing whether to issue preemptive pardons to those who investigated Trump's effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and are facing possible retribution when he takes office. Those pardoned Thursday, or this would have been last month, had been convicted of nonviolent crimes such as drug offenses and turned their lives around. White House lawyers said this. They include a woman who led emergency response teams during natural disasters, a church deacon who has worked as an addiction counselor and youth counselor, a doctoral student in molecular biosciences, and a decorated military veteran. The president had previously issued 122 commutations and 21 other pardons. He's also broadly pardoned those convicted of use and simple possession of marijuana on federal lands and in the District of Columbia, and pardoned former U.S. service members convicted of violating a now repealed military ban on consensual gay sex. Representative Jim McGovern, who from DMAS, and 34 other lawmakers are urging the president to pardon environmental and human rights lawyer Stephen Donziger, who was imprisoned or under house arrest for 3 years because of a contempt of court charge related to his work representing indigenous farmers in a lawsuit against Chevron. Others who are advocating for Biden to commute the sentences of federal death row prisoners, his Attorney General Merrick Garland paused federal executions. Biden had said on the campaign trail in 2020 that he wanted to end the death penalty, but he never did. And now, with Trump coming back into office, it's likely executions will resume. During his first term, Trump presided over an unprecedented number of federal executions carried out during the height of the pandemic. More pardons are coming before Biden leaves office on January 20th, but it's not clear whether he'll take action to guard against possible prosecution by Trump and untested use of the power. The president has been taking the idea seriously and has been thinking about it for as much as 6 months before the presidential election, but has been concerned about the precedent it would set, according to people familiar with the matter who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity to discuss internal discussions. But those who received the pardons would have to accept them. New California Senator Adam Schiff, who was the chairman of the Congressional Committee that investigated the violent January 6th insurrection, said such a pardon from Biden would be unnecessary and that the president shouldn't be spending his waning days in office worrying about this. A president has the power to both pardon in which a person is relieved of guilt. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I got a little bit interrupted there. So let me go back to where we started here. So, the president has the power to both pardon in which a person is relieved of guilt and punishment, or commute a sentence which reduces or eliminates the punishment but doesn't exonerate the wrongdoing. It's customary for a president to grant mercy at the end of his term. Again, for those who watch Scandal, we kind of know this. Using the power of the office to wipe away records or end prison terms. Before pardoning his son, Biden had repeatedly pledged not to do so. He said in a statement explaining his reversal that the prosecution had been poisoned by politics. The decision prompted criminal justice advocates and lawmakers to put additional public pressure on the administration to use that same power for everyday Americans. It wasn't a very popular move. Only about 2 in 10 Americans approved of his decision, according to a poll from the Associated Press and ORC Center for Public Affairs Research. So I think that is the end of that topic. Okay, so next topic. And this time Mikel's on this topic because we thought it fitting to talk about this together. So Jay-Z. And I think this is something, I know I've heard this somewhere. I'm not sure where I heard this, but I feel like it's not much of a surprise, at least to me anyways, because I feel like the rumblings of Jay-Z kind of being one of the people mixed in to his own nonsense, similar to P. Diddy, was going to potentially happen. So let's just break it down. Let's just break down. I haven't read this article prior. We're going to read the article and we'll discuss. So, a woman who alleges she was sexually assaulted by Sean Diddy Combs has amended her lawsuit to include allegations that she was also assaulted by Jay-Z at the same party. The lawsuit was initially filed against Combs in October, but on Sunday, the woman added Sean Carter, the rapper and businessman known as Jay-Z, as a defendant in the civil lawsuit. Carter is the first celebrity to be accused of sexual assault in connection to Combs. In a statement addressed to CNN, I'm just going to use their names. Jay-Z called the allegations, quote, so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? I'm just going to finish the article and now put my 2 cents in.
Mhm.
P. Diddy was indicted, as we kind of all know, on charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and prostitution-related charges. P. Diddy pled not guilty to the charges and has denied all wrongdoing in roughly 30 civil lawsuits that have been filed against him. The woman, who is identified as a Jane Doe, says she was 13 years old at the time. She was allegedly assaulted by P. Diddy and Jay-Z at an after party following the Video Music Awards in 2000. The woman alleges she began to feel woozy after consuming a drink at the party and wandered into a nearby bedroom. The woman alleges Carter raped her first. Wow. Followed by Combs. The woman says she hit Combs and ran out of the party, according to the amended lawsuit. Carter was identified in the initial lawsuit as Celebrity A. According to the lawsuit, the Doe's attorneys reached out to Carter to request a mediation to resolve this matter, saying, quote, upon present information and belief, Jay-Z responded to said letter by not only filing an utterly frivolous lawsuit, but by also orchestrating a conspiracy of harassment, bullying, and intimidation against plaintiffs' lawyers, their families, employees, and former associates in an attempt to silence plaintiff from naming Jay-Z herein. This effort was meant to scare plaintiff and to discredit her counsel. The effort failed. Indeed, plaintiff chose to file this amendment as a result of the, that's a word I'm not going to try and attempt, conduct perpetuated by Carter, according to the lawsuit. In his response sent to CNN on Sunday, which was addressed to Doe's attorney, Carter called the mediation request a blackmail attempt. Carter also said his lawyer, quote, who I have done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these types of theatrics. I guess claiming her counsel.
Mhm.
CNN has also reached out to Jay-Z's wife, Beyonce, for comment. CNN reported in November that an anonymous male celebrity filed a lawsuit against the Texas attorney representing the Doe, alleging he was the victim of an extortion scheme. The celebrity accused Houston-based attorney Tony Busby and his firm of, quote, shamelessly attempting to extort exorbitant sums from him or else publicly file wildly false, horrific allegations against him. So I guess, again, he's claiming this is her attorney doing this. Attorneys for the unnamed celebrity claimed further the Busby had, quote, threatened to unleash entirely fabricated and salacious allegations of sexual assaults that included multiple instances of rape of a minor, both male and female, if their client refuses to comply with their demands. Busby denied the extortion claims against him in an Instagram post in which he wrote that his firm, quote, won't allow the powerful and their high-dollar lawyers to intimidate or silence sexual assault survivors, and in a statement to CNN.
I heard he's a lawyer that has a high successful rate in a lot of cases. So
His lawyer
no, no, no.
or her lawyer?
But yeah, her lawyer. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, that's, I mean, we'll get to our opinion at the end of the article because I'm sure we have our opinions on this, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
And actually, I do remember now where I've heard this. I'll save
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Quote, if you're trying to hide your identity and you claim you did nothing wrong, doesn't seem
Mhm.
very smart to take this approach, Busby told CNN in an email at the time. We will address it in due course. I have confidence that with full public disclosure of this will sort itself out, Busby wrote. And that is the end of the article. So, do you want to give your opinions before I do?
Mm. Well, if it is true, I'm kind of not surprised by
Mhm.
Jay-Z. There's been rumored history about him.
Mhm.
It'll go as far as Beyonce. It could go as far
Yes.
as
Yeah.
Alea and
Aaliyah.
Foxy. Alea, yeah, Alea, or yeah, sorry, my bad. And Foxy Brown. There's rumors. So like basically, um, and then even how he approached Beyonce as well at a young age. So you look at those are like, questionable uh history for Jay-Z. So like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And plus both Jay-Z and Diddy are good friends. So
Hmm.
uh yeah, and there's been like, reports that, they're not they're so close that, um they are the only two to call themselves Sean's. So like nobody else
Hmm.
other than, their family members can call them Sean.
Hmm.
So yeah. So they're that close. So let's see what happens. And hopefully it's not true in Jay-Z's case. If it is, it's pretty damning. Another hip hop icon goes down. You know.
So for me, kind of piggybacking off of what you said too about Beyonce, I mean, I didn't know much about like his involvement with Aaliyah, or maybe I did, but
Yeah.
it's been so long. Um, and I definitely didn't know anything about Foxy Brown, but with Beyonce, again, for those people, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people listening are Beyonce fans, know the history, whatever. But there may be some people who don't. Like, we're old enough that we remember when they started dating. Yike. Just aged myself. But in case people don't remember, and I remember even being at a young age thinking, this is a little weird. There's what, 9 years between them, correct? 9 or 10 years between them.
12.
12 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 12 years between them.
Yeah.
She was 18 when they started, well, 18, 17, 18 when their song came out, Bonnie and
Like
Clyde '03. Um,
allegedly earlier than that.
Aleppo, yeah, they're both,
Yeah.
they say 18, but there was always, well, she could have been 17, she could have been even younger, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but the official thing is that they didn't start dating, I believe, until she was 19,
Yes.
till she was
Yes.
19. Um, the rumor has it that, you know, she lost her virginity to him, all of that, like there's
Hmm.
those things.
Hmm.
Now, I always wondered, was she really 18 or 19? Was she younger than that? I think, unfortunately, this was very similar with like Aaliyah. Maybe not quite that, but a little similarities between the two here. This was a girl who was in the spotlight. I think she was very sheltered. Not, I don't know if Aaliyah necessarily was sheltered, but I think Beyonce was a little bit sheltered as well from, with her parents that maybe just didn't have the wherewithal to kind of be like, this is weird,
Hmm.
Kind of similar as much as I love Celine Dion and everything. Similar with her too, with her now late husband. Similar, you know. So it has made me wonder. And to me too, I'm not surprised by it, just based on that alone, on the fact that your wife was barely legal when you met her. and started anything, if she was even legal. Um, and that kind of takes me back to something that I was like, I know I heard something, but I can't remember where I heard anything. So this is something we're actually going to talk about in an episode that Mikel's actually not going to be a part of. But
Hmm.
an episode I was going to be doing with a friend of mine where she was kind of telling me things about this YouTuber. I can't remember. I think it's her name is Bella Sloan, I believe. And she was kind of telling me about these different things of, oh, Matthew Perry's death isn't quite what they're trying to make it out to be. Then things started coming out in the news, and we'll talk about it in that episode.
Right.
Um, and she said the P. Diddy stuff, there's more to it. And
Hmm.
she actually said to me that this person on YouTube was mentioning, wait for it, Jay-Z's next. And she told me this months ago.
Mm.
So I think that's why I'm like, wait a minute, that's why. Because of what she had told me that she heard through this
Hmm.
YouTuber. So
Yeah.
that's very interesting. I mean,
There's a there's gonna be a bunch more bigger celebrities that are coming from
I,
this these situations, like basically from politicians to even like big celebrities to
well,
even like
yeah,
in
that's kind of what happened with like even Jeffrey Epstein, right?
hmm
Where they kept saying there's so much more to Epstein than just Epstein and Ghislaine. There's politicians, presidents,
yeah.
other celebrities, and that are involved with him.
I hope it's not
Um,
who I think it is.
with
The president.
Epstein.
Presidents. I have
Well,
presidents in the
you
past.
know, by saying with
No, not
Epstein.
with Epstein, with Diddy,
Okay.
with Diddy.
Well, I don't know because again, the presidents have already been linked with
Yeah.
Epstein even prior to this. And again, for those people who don't know, the presidents were like Clinton, Trump. Those were the ones that were linked. I mean, there is photographic evidence, at least with Trump, that he knew
Yeah. I,
Epstein and Ghislaine
there'll be a
intimately.
sad, well, I don't want to even mention it. It'll be a sad moment if I hear Barack. And I'm like,
No, I don't think Barack is going to be involved in it. I don't think so. No.
people are putting him into that sense of people of a picture. I'm like, and that's another thing too. Pictures as
Mm,
well. Like
mm,
as soon as people connect a celebrity with a picture, there's certain celebrities that just took picture with Diddy just
mm,
for that, moment
right,
or just for that, party.
right.
Doesn't mean they're connected to
Doesn't mean
the
they're connected. Yeah,
yeah.
because they were
But
also trying to connect P. Diddy
yeah.
with I can't remember his real name, guys, but the father from Family Matters. That they were
Mm-mm.
trying to connect the two as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it maybe just that they just
Yeah.
know
Took
each other outside of all of that? Like
yeah.
he
Yeah.
has nothing to do with it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, Barack Obama took a picture with P Diddy. I don't doesn't mean they're friends. They're they hang out all the time. Like
No,
they
they
just took
could
one
just be
picture.
acquaintances.
Yeah,
Done.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's people that say that what's his name? Uh, the very odd picture of a celebrity that wouldn't hang out with like Diddy. Like say if mm, what's a odd picture? Say like Robert De Niro and
Mhm.
he. I don't think they,
No, I don't think they're running in the
like
same circles, y'all.
yeah. They just took a They would they just take a picture because of that moment of the because of the party and yeah, it's just a picture. It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with an incident.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
I mean, I think what it comes down to is that, like, even, okay, maybe this isn't maybe not a great example, just
mhm,
because
yeah.
people, I think, have different views and opinions on, you know, on this topic. But
Mhm,
it's
mhm, mhm,
even like with R. Kelly, with, they're saying, oh, Michael Jackson and R. Kelly, they're associated because he's written, songs for
mhm,
Michael Jackson, or they've
mhm, mhm.
collaborated or whatever. Or,
Yeah,
he's collaborated with a bunch of different, he did a song with Celine Dion. Is Celine Dion involved in this bullshit too? You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And whether or not you believe Michael Jackson was involved in
Mm-hmm.
his own scandals,
Mm-hmm.
that's you're entitled to your opinion. I have mine, you'll have
Yeah.
yours, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
You,
doesn't necessarily mean just because you may potentially will like play devil's advocate, does because you may possibly do the same thing, you're interested potentially in the same thing, does not mean that you guys are powwowing together about how to assault somebody. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So just because someone's associated with somebody
Mm-hmm.
does not mean that they're also involved in the thing that this person is doing.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that could very well also be the case with Jay-Z. Just because him and P. Diddy are friends does not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily mean he's associated with what P. Diddy is doing.
Yeah.
However, if you look at the bigger picture, as we talked about,
Yeah.
it kind of lends the, the thoughts of could this
Mm-hmm.
be true?
True.
Right.
Yeah. 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 Because they actually are cool. They actually hang out with
Yeah.
each other. So like, yeah,
But
they're
again, that's what I'm trying to say. Just trying to play both
close.
sides. Just
Yeah.
because they're close doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean he actually did anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I do have to then ask this question, and I'm gonna say with the same energy
Mm-hmm.
with how we kind of dealt with the victims of R. Kelly. The victims are the victims of those people. Where in the hell are this girl's parents? Just like we did with R. Kelly's victims.
No,
Where are the parents? How
I
do you
think.
have your 13-year-old child just wandering the street? Again, I know it's
It's,
2000, different time,
mm-hmm.
but I mean, I was 9, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
I was not able to just wander the street at 13 by myself like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I was going to go anywhere, I had a family member drive me to and from,
Yeah.
even in high school,
No.
so
Hey,
it's,
when you're 13 years old, back in the day, early like in the 2000s, you just want to be cool. You want to go into like the most like hottest parties and
yeah, no, I understand that. I
yeah,
understand as
yeah,
a
yeah,
13-year-old,
yeah.
you
Like
want to do those
yeah,
things.
yeah,
But as a parent who said 13-year-old, it's your job to make sure your child isn't attending those parties. Those parties are not somewhere a 13-year-old should be
hmm
attending. So, yeah, of course, at 13, of
yeah,
course, I would have wanted to attend a celebrity party. Yeah, school.
yeah. Hey,
Absolutely.
your teenager could like lie to you that you're going to this
That's
person
true.
go to a friend's house,
Yeah,
or
that's true.
he should could have snuck out,
Yeah, that's true.
like
That's true.
we didn't have social media, like we didn't have like Facebook, we didn't have
No,
like
there was no Facebook. There wasn't anything like what we have today. You had a cell phone potentially, or you were borrowing your parents' cell phone. It
yes,
wasn't like it is today.
yeah,
Absolutely, no, I
yeah,
get that.
So,
But again,
yeah,
at the end of the
yeah,
day,
yeah,
the aggressor is the person in the wrong.
hmm
But again, it's just I just never will understand how any grown ass man
yeah,
would ever find there's no way this little girl that you don't look at her and think
yeah,
she's not like she's even 15, 16. She's 13
yeah,
years old.
yeah,
And 13-year-olds back in 2000 looked like
yeah,
13-year-olds.
yeah.
Did not like
Compared to
now.
yeah, you couldn't tell the difference.
Sometimes you're like,
Yes.
you're only
Yeah.
13? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like it's just, and again, things, shit happens. There's no,
hmm
you know, I think about like I don't know if you remember this, but I remember the incident with Akon back when he was performing. I think he was in Africa, but I can't remember. He was performing and some girl, or it was Trinidad. I think it was Trinidad.
hmm
He was
hmm
performing in Trinidad, and there was like this girl who snuck into the venue, and he was like dry humping her. Didn't realize she's underage. I can't remember how old she was. I think 15. but she was like, "Oh, I'm 18," but she wasn't. And he had to like issue an apology, and it's really around that time that his career took a downfall.
Mhm.
I believe he did not know because he's performing in this venue, the
Mhm.
lighting is off.
Mhm.
He's not like he actually had sex with her or anything like that. He's dry humping her, whatever. It's not great, obviously,
Mhm.
but it's just like, I believe in cases like that, shit happens. But for you to be at a party, follow what is this intoxicated girl, whatever the situation is, either drugged or whatever,
Mhm.
to a bedroom, and
Mhm.
then proceed to rape her. That's what happened.
Mhm.
It just doesn't make any sense to me because there is forethought. There is moments of you walking to that room, following her, where your mind isn't telling you this is a bad idea,
Mhm.
where you dropping down your pants or whatever, where this mind should be going through and
Mhm.
saying, this is a bad idea.
Mhm.
Never once do you think this is a bad idea and I should stop what I'm about to do. Instead, you just do it anyways. I'll just never understand men in those moments. I never will.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, to echo what you said, it is a shame as Black people to just see another Black
Yeah.
person who was successful, who is part of paving the way for
Oh, it's
hip
black.
hop and
Yeah.
R&B
Yeah.
and all that,
Mhm.
whatever it is, just falling to the wayside again because
Yeah.
of their poor choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
These.
absolute shame.
Yeah. These are big hole in the hip hop community.
hmm The thing with P. Diddy, not only did we get P. Diddy,
Which
but we got others because of him
yeah.
as well. So it's just
Yes.
like it just puts this damper
Yeah.
on all of it.
Yeah. It's crazy. And we've been looking for the black community to be on a pedestal for so long. We finally
Mhm.
get it, and then it just explodes in our
Yeah.
faces. So like
Yeah.
it hurts to see uh uh these two just go down in shame. So well, in Jay-Z's case, I hope not, but like
Mm.
yeah.
But that's the thing, like I feel like when it comes to the Black community and just the whole,
Hmm.
we've been taking hits. And
Hmm.
when it comes down to it though,
Hmm.
these people who we did put on pedestals are the reason that you know, we like I think like Bill Cosby, a person who I grew up watching and loved watching, and he turns out to be a horrible person. And I still haven't forgiven him for taking away a show that I grew up watching constantly, taking that away and just putting this just horrible thing over it now. Like I haven't watched the Bill Cosby show at all ever since all of that came out because how can I sit there and enjoy something knowing during that time he was drugging and taking advantage of women, you
Hmm.
know? Um, and same kind of goes with this. It's just like it's unfortunate. No, listen, P. Diddy was never one of my favorite people. Jay-Z's never been one of my favorite people. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, these two people are the reason or part of the reason why music is the way it is with hip hop and R&B and rap and whatever it is. They're the reason, partly, not entirely, but partly. And that's a
Hmm.
shame. Um, it's angering. But unlike how Black people treated like OJ Simpson, I'm not going to put them on a pedestal and think that they can do no wrong and think that they're innocent and completely ignore the red flags in my face. I'm not
Hmm.
going to do that.
I agree.
If they are guilty, which I fully, fully believe P. Diddy is guilty, Jay-Z, I wouldn't be surprised.
Hmm.
If they're guilty, they're guilty. I don't care what they've contributed to the Black community. Right now, they
Hmm.
are tainting the Black community. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So, well, we'll see on Jay-Z's side. Um, you know what they say? Was it guilty till proving um what's it say? Guilty until proven
You are innocent until proven guilty.
innocent until proven guilty. And then,
But again, that's in a criminal court.
yeah,
And right now they're, well, at least with this particular
it's
one,
civil.
they're
Yeah,
being sued civilly. So it's a
yeah,
completely different burden
different. Okay.
um of guilt than it is in a criminal case. Like it's
So wait. So what's the difference between like educate me on that civil and criminal? Because there's probably a lot of people who just don't know as well as me. So like, what's the difference between civil and criminal?
so with criminal, you're being criminally charged with something. So like, let's say in this particular case,
Hmm.
they're being charged, or P. Diddy, whatever, is being charged with sexual assaults,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is something that can be, if found guilty, you're going to be doing jail time and all that. Now, when it comes to the burden of proof, you have to basically have a shadow, like what's the term that they use? It's without a shadow of a doubt, or like you need to basically have zero doubt that this person is guilty of what they're being charged of, right?
Right.
Now, with civil case, now we're talking money. It's about the money. It's about compensation. You're not being, sent thrown into prison or something. It's about the money. So now in this case, you're basically, similar to like with O.J. Simpson, you're being charged with the death of the person or the sexual assault of this person, even though in a criminal court, you may not
Hmm.
necessarily be found guilty. As in O.J. Simpson's case, he wasn't
Hmm.
found criminally responsible, but civilly he was, because the burden of proof is way less. You basically just have to have, it's basically about percentages, right?
Right.
So let's say 100%. If you're even found 50% liable for anything,
Right.
you're still found guilty in the civil court. And you will then need to then pay that compensation, whatever that compensation is going to be. Or you can even be found 70% liable, but there's still 30% on the victim. But that's what you've been civilly, that's what they say you're guilty of or whatever. And you're still
Hmm.
going to be paying that percentage, or whatever that percentage is, whatever they're asking for,
Hmm.
whatever they agree with. Like that's what they'll they'll have to do. So the burden of proof is so different in a civil case than it is in a criminal case.
Hmm.
Doesn't take much, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, any updates that we'll have, we'll talk about it.
Hmm.
Um, throughout like this. When I saw this, like we're recording this like right as it came out.
Hmm.
Um, I was like, oop, there it is.
Hmm.
Like, um, eh, I would be curious to hear what Beyonce has to say, because I think honestly,
Well,
this could potentially affect her too. Like in terms of her career, this could
I
affect her
mean,
too.
yeah, I mean, this kind of, I mean, in the 2000s, was she like around
Oh,
Jay-Z, I believe? She was like two, 3 years around it. Okay.
yeah, because this was in 2000s, or this following
When did he,
2000. When did Bonnie and Clyde come out? Let's see what time. Bonnie and Clyde '03. It came out in 2003. So it
to,
would have been, but if what you're saying is correct, and they've known each other even before then,
yeah,
potentially,
so,
yes, she could have been around.
oh, well, so that's 2, 3. Yeah, well, that's not much, to be honest. Wait, I don't blame her on that fault.
No, 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 no. That's
Yeah,
not what I'm saying. I'm not saying
yeah,
I
yeah,
blame
yeah,
her. No, no,
Yeah.
no. She's not also blamed for any of this.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, from even what I recall from back then, Jay-Z was in a relationship long before he met her
Mm,
too. So no, no, no.
right.
I'm not blaming Beyonce in terms of that. She has no fault in this. But because she is with him,
Hmm.
right? She could potentially get kickback because of what he's going through. It's kind of being guilty by association. You see what I mean?
I see.
Like her career could get a hit just because of her husband. But she's not at fault. I want to make that very clear. I may not be a huge Beyonce fan, um, or anything, but um, she could be taking a hit because of whatever choices or just, all of this. Like this is what happens. Sometimes people just get kicked back because of who they associate with,
Hmm.
right?
Right. Right. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Uh, she might, yeah, she might get a little hit back, and then her career might take a little bit of a,
Of a
little
hit
bit of
because
a
of it.
hit. Yeah. So,
And I hope like it doesn't come back onto the kids too. But see, this is
mm,
why you don't put your kids in the limelight, honestly.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, Michael Jackson may not have had the right approach, but he had the right idea to keep his kids out of the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
And other people have done the same thing throughout, just keeping their kids out of the limelight because they didn't choose this.
Hmm.
So that's just kind of goes to show like this is just why you don't do it.
His kids, one of his big ones, is it Blue Ivy? Is it Blue Ivy, I believe?
Blue Ivy is the oldest.
Yeah. So she's in school. So like,
Yeah. Well, the twins are being schooled too. They're
yeah. Well, I mean, the twins are in, are they in kindergarten or
I don't think they're that young.
they're not? Oh, they're not that
I
young.
don't think
Oh,
they're that young. She was
okay.
pregnant before. I don't know now when she was pregnant. I think 2017 with the twins. So I don't think they're that young. I think they're a little
Right.
older.
6. So yeah, they're either,
She was
kindergarten.
pregnant
Well,
with Blue Ivy, I
maybe
think,
one.
in 2012.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she
So yeah,
wasn't pregnant
she's,
long after with the twins,
yeah,
like a
yeah,
few years later.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think they're
So, yeah.
that young.
Okay.
But either way, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
Kids are brutal.
Yeah. They're gonna see that on the internet
Mm.
in the future. And boom, boom.
Or even now.
Now that too.
Even
So
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna
So,
it's gonna be crazy.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's the end of that topic. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll just, I already did the outro and everything for this.
So
Okay. Yeah.
uh,
So the next topic again.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a uh brand new topic. So the Canadian finance minister quits uh over Trump's tariff dispute
Tariff.
with
Tariff.
tariff dispute with Trudeau. So by December 16th, the Canadian finance minister Chrystia Freeland has resigned from her post, citing disagreement with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on how to respond to incoming President Donald Trump threat to um, tariffs. So
Hmm.
yeah, she announced her resignation in a letter to Trudeau on Monday, in which she said the two have been at odds about the best path forward for Canada, which is very odd. I did hear some rumblings that a lot of the Liberals have been in disagreement with Justin Trudeau. So that's been the crazy talk in the last 3 months. And this does not help this at all. Like this came at a shocker at a time where Justin Trudeau is about to go to election next year.
Right.
And yeah,
Well,
so
here's my
what,
question then.
yeah,
What is
yeah.
his stance on the tariffs?
Um, I don't see, let me see. What's his name?
But I think that would help give a little bit
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
um understanding of
Hmm.
what is his stance on that, because clearly these tariffs that are going to be coming very soon, according to Trump, um, we know he's going to be in office as of, I think, the 20th, if I'm correct. Um, and with this, it's going to be not great. I know Ford has taken a very heavy, like, absolute no
Hmm.
with these tariffs coming.
Oh yeah, I
So
heard.
I'm interested to know where Trudeau stands with the tariffs coming.
Yeah, I heard about Ford's. He's willing to cut the
Oh,
powers.
he's pissed.
Yeah,
He's like, try it, you Oompa Loompa. Try
I
it. You're
know.
not going to get any energy to, I
Yeah,
think it's Wisconsin that would get really affected.
yeah,
I think all of their energy comes from us.
yeah,
So try
yeah,
it.
yeah. Exactly. Which I was surprised because he's like been like a little bit of a low key supporter. Same with like Pierre. He's been a low key supporter of Trump too. So like,
Pierre, Pierre,
yeah,
Pierre?
yeah.
Do you
Well,
mean,
Pierre Paul, what's his name? The conservative leader.
I don't even know who that is, actually, to totally honest with you.
Really?
I don't know who that is.
That's been like heckling. You know?
Oh.
Yeah,
I think I've seen pictures.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, he's been like the like not low key, but he's been like a little bit of a longer Trump supporter and supports like Trump. So
Which is
th-
again what
yeah.
we don't need that, because here's the thing. I think Trudeau can be cordial with
Hmm.
the president.
Hmm.
Um, we've seen it before already, but I think the worst thing for Canada is for a Trump supporter to be the prime minister right now. I
Hmm.
don't know what that would mean for for our country if we had just a Trump supporter in that seat right now. I would be actually really terrified to know that is a possibility. That scares me, actually, to be totally honest. I don't
Hmm.
think we don't need that right now. And if that means, sorry, people who are not Trudeau supporters, and I'm not saying I'm a full-blown Trudeau supporter either, but I think with how things are currently, and I think even with Ford too,
Hmm.
I'm again not saying I'm a Ford supporter. I have been openly just frustrated with him,
Yeah.
um, with Doug Ford throughout all of his choices.
Well,
But
I
if that
don't.
means
Yeah.
the having these people in office right now for the next 4 years,
Yeah.
then I think that was what we need right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't see anything what Trudeau stand, but I do see something with Trump. So like US President-elect who will return to the White House in January has vowed to impose a levy of 25% on imported Canadian goods unless the shared border is made more secure.
What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Because it's like, is he accusing Canadians now as well as
Mhm.
entering into states
Mhm.
illegally?
Yes. Yeah, I overheard that. I overheard that too. He's been trying to tell Trudeau to close the border, close the, like,
For what? What are we now doing to you? We don't want to go into the states. Trust me.
mhm,
But if what?
yeah, yeah. So, economists say that the tariffs could have a devastating effect on Canada's economy. which I
Absolutely. We're already
yeah
suffering.
yeah
We're
yeah.
already,
Um,
I'm gonna start cussing. And it's fine because we can be a clean podcast now because of
mhm,
my editing
mhm,
program.
mhm, mhm,
But we're already suffering in this
mhm.
country, and you want to do more to us for what? We're supposed to be one of your biggest allies, and you're going to potentially sever that in one fell swoop.
Yeah. Yep.
And here's the thing, and I've said it before, if we were to be in a tense situation with America, our country's royally, we're royally because it's, I think, I mean, maybe this is horrible for me to say, but I'm going to say it. I think true being Trump, understands that we maybe need him more than he needs us.
Yeah, I think that's what he believes. I
And
I
honestly, he's not wrong.
I
And
think
that's what's scary.
yeah. I do think that not just Canada, for every country.
Yeah.
He believes that.
He's literally putting in that trope of, well, everyone wants to be in America.
Hmm.
No, no, not everyone wants to be in America. Trust
Hmm.
me, not everyone wants to be there.
Hmm.
Not everyone wants to live in America. Not everyone
Hmm.
wants to live in the land of the free. Like no one wants to, no. But he's putting in that trope of everyone wants to be here.
Hmm.
We listen, we're in Canada. We're fine where we are. We don't need it to be in America.
Right.
So the fact that he's basically, I think, I mean, I don't want to sound horrible, but when I think of the continents in the world that are perfectly content with where they are, Europe, North America, I would say are the two big ones there. We're fine with where we
Mm.
are. Now, obviously that includes Mexico and that as well as North America, but um I think with Mexico, it's not even so much about we can't sustain life here.
Mm.
I mean, Mexico City is it's a huge city, for
Yeah.
example. Like, I think it's not even so much about that. I think people in Mexico, it's the cartel that can run people out. So I'm not even thinking it's even economical reasons why people
Mm.
leave Mexico. Only anyway.
Yep.
But
Yeah. Mexico City has over 9.2 million.
see what I mean?
Yeah.
Mexico City is huge,
Yeah.
right? And it's just it's laughable to me that he is telling us the Canadian border to be closed with America
Hmm.
because it's just like we're not running into the States. I think if anything, if people run into the States, it's because they're trying to run away from crime or something, which maybe is what he's saying. But it's like I don't see an issue with the Canadian border as much as with the Mexican border for the States in terms of people illegally going into the country. Like he's an idiot. I'm sorry. Hot take. Trump's an idiot. Um, but it's just, but I think
So
that's the thing I
yeah,
need to know. I need to know what Justin Trudeau's stance is on the tariff situation.
I am not 100% sure.
Let me see if I
Uh,
can do any research to
yeah,
see
do
if I
some
can find
research on that.
anything.
But in pub when Freeland resigned, um, did the whole letter. Trump commented on how Christian Freeland is the most toxic um person that he's ever met.
Is that what was that for who said that?
No, Trump.
Trump said that?
Yeah, Trump said that about her. Yeah.
Oh, he said it about a
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asshole.
uh Yeah, that's how he felt about her. Like,
And
I guess
he's being
like
asked for, um, sorry, Trudeau is being asked to step down. So that's why I'm wondering what is his position. Let me see if I can figure something out here
yeah.
while you continue talking.
Yeah. She yeah, she want well, Trudeau wanted her to step down for I don't know, for what reason. Not it might be in the disagreements with what a lot of the liberals are going through. Uh when I overheard rumors about, a lot of liberals don't agree with Trudeau's policies and what he's doing for Canada right now. And a lot of them believe that he should resign, as which is shocking to me because, like, yeah, you're going to have a lot of liberals who disagree with you, but most of the liberals in your party disagree with you is kind of troubling.
Oh yeah.
So,
I don't know if
so
you read her resignation or part of the resignation, but
mhm,
this so we're kind of putting this here, and maybe
mhm,
this will also help with where we're kind of hopefully getting to in terms of his position. Maybe
yeah,
we don't even know what his position is, but
right.
she said that the incoming administration in the United States is pursuing a policy, as we kind of know already, of aggressive economic nationalism, including a threat of 25% tariffs. We need to take that threat extremely seriously. That means keeping our fiscal powder dry today so we have the reserves we may need for a coming tariff war.
Hmm.
That means eschewing, sorry,
Hmm.
costly
Hmm.
political gimmicks which we can ill afford and which make Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment. Like, I think she's accusing him of not taking this tariff
Seriously?
threat seriously,
Mm.
which he should be. Let
Gotcha.
me continue reading.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can keep going while I read.
Yeah, that's a problem if he's not taking this seriously because
Mhm.
that's a lot of our goods being imported. What's the do you know what's the original percentage for the tariffs for um
I think it's 25%. I think that is the original. So oh, do you
original?
mean like in terms of what it already is?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can figure that out. Because I'm starting to wonder if we just do not know
Mm.
what
It's
his stance is on it. And that's the problem.
if it's what
Um,
it is originally, that's probably what it is right now. That's just probably where the stance is right now. But if he's willing to change that or willing to like uh argue or meet with Trump on a certain number, then yeah. But I haven't seen any, information based on what Trudeau wants um with the turf so far.
so here's what I do have. So I don't know if this is just
Hmm.
um what it is between any country,
Hmm.
but it says the United States currently has a trade weighted average import tariff rate of 2%.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants it all the way to 23%.
25.
I know, but like,
Oh, I see your increase of 23%. Yeah.
yeah, gee, that's
Mm-hmm.
a that's a that's a that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. And in Canada, the average tariff rate
Mhm.
is 1.84. So
He Trump really wants,
he's really gonna fuck us over.
yeah, he
He's
really wants,
really gonna fuck us over
yeah,
if
if
this
if the
is what
if the border
happens.
if the border doesn't close. So he's trying to penalize us in a certain type of way. That's why I
Yeah,
feel
it's
like,
either close the border or we're going
or
to increase this tariff to
yeah,
25%, which, you know what, knowing that and putting that in perspective,
uh-huh.
um, what Ford is doing right now in terms of, okay, you want to do that to us? Well, here's what
Hmm.
we're going to do back. I think is
Mm.
an amazing way of handling it. He's going to, you're going to do that to us and f us
Mm.
over.
Mm.
Well, then we're going to f the entire state of Wisconsin. How about that?
Mm.
Because I think it's Wisconsin that
Yeah.
would be pretty much directly affected. Like I think all of their energy comes from us.
And New York, is it too?
I don't know about New York. I didn't hear New York. I heard Wisconsin though. Um, because they're also so close to the Canadian border. But obviously so is New York, so is Michigan. But I didn't hear about Michigan. But again, Michigan is close to Wisconsin, close to New York, and
Mhm.
so I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know. Could affect them as well.
Well, I give it to
If not entirely, partially.
Mhm. Well, I give it to Doug Ford for doing that. Like
Well,
that's that's good. Like I
yeah,
would
you're not
definitely.
gonna do that. You're gonna completely screw up our economy
Mhm.
because that's what's gonna happen
Mhm.
is if this tariff is increased
Mhm.
to 25%,
Right.
that's gonna come out of taxpayers' pockets.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
gonna be really royally screwed. And we
Hmm.
could end up in another recession,
Mm.
which I think is something we're trying to avoid right now.
Right.
Like,
So
this
what's
is
this?
gonna be horrible.
Yeah. So what's this mean for the election? Since the
Our
uh,
election?
yeah, because what do you think this is going to change things completely? Because like you look at the what Christine Freeland has been like the Minister of Finance for years now on the liberal side. So like,
Yeah.
so do you think it's gonna change things? Is Trudeau gone completely
Well,
in 25?
they are asking for him to step down.
Hmm.
I don't know. He might not run again. It's very possible he might not run again.
So
And
yeah.
obviously, like with everything, like listen,
Mhm.
as we kind of already know, and I did talk about in the beginning part of the podcast episode, we're talking about the tax break that we're getting right now currently.
Mhm.
Um, this is all for, Trudeau to get, oh,
Votes.
look at Trudeau, look what he did for
Mhm.
us. Let's vote him back in, right? But would that have been for nothing? I don't
Mhm.
know. I mean, thank you, Daddy Trudeau, for giving us a tax break, but like I don't know, would that have been for nothing?
Yeah. Ramon would say the same thing, Daddy Trudeau.
Seriously. Thank you, Daddy Trudeau, because I'm listen, I'm
But
feeling the difference. It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
But
it is amazing. Like the GST slash HST answer should put out for the long term. Like, give it 2 more months.
yeah,
Maybe for 50 years. You know.
but I mean, give it at least a year. Come on now.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. But yeah, I do. Like I said, in my opinion, I think this will change things come election time. I don't think the GST slash HST and then the rebate that's coming in like January is going to be
I don't think
enough.
it's going to be enough because he wasn't anticipating this. And also, like the thing too with her stepping down when she did too, with the Canada Post strike, with the Christmas around the corner, it is
Right.
going to delay checks being processed too.
Hmm.
Like, there's going to be a delay with that as well because
Yeah.
she is the Minister of Finance, right?
Uh,
Like, so we don't have a Minister of Finance
hmm.
currently,
Hmm.
right?
Well, there is a
I think
replacement.
they're working
It,
on replacement, but
yeah.
yeah, as I'm sure by the time this episode is out, we will have a new Minister of Finance, but we're still recording this in December right after it happened. And it's just like, we don't have a Minister of Finance currently. And I don't know if we will before Christmas.
Mhm.
But maybe we will. I don't know. But, you know,
Well, it's Dominic.
we're a few days
Le,
before Christmas. So
yeah.
who knows?
Well, his name is Dominic LeBlanc.
So that is the Minister of Finance, like it's been
Yeah,
elected in.
that's what
Okay.
he's picking.
That's who he's picking. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's picking
Has
for
he been sworn in
replace.
yet or
Let me just check then. Let me see. To replace. Yeah,
he's been
yeah. So
sworn in?
he's been picked to replace. Yeah, as
But
the
he's been
Canadian.
sworn in or no?
Um, I don't think he's been
Like,
sworn in,
and I think there
but
was
he's
a
been.
little bit of there might have been a delay in him being sworn in, which that he
Hmm.
you need to do that first
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
he takes on that post. But um, anyway, I do think that this could have okay. The thing is if we could get clarity
Mhm.
as the country
Mhm.
to know why this happened, what discussions, because the thing is that's worrisome for me is the fact that she says we need to take this seriously
Mhm.
makes me think he isn't taking this seriously, which maybe he isn't. I listen, as just an everyday person, hearing Trump make these stupid ass threats
Mhm.
would be like, oh, he's bluffing because he is who he is. He bluffs. He might not necessarily do that. I
Mhm.
totally get that. But as the top dog of our country, you need to take that seriously. You need to prepare for all avenues.
Mhm.
So if that is what's not happening, that's a concern.
Mhm. Mhm. So it says, it also says here, like Dominic LeBlanc is a longtime ally of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and is set to
Oh,
replace Chrystia Freeland as Canada's new finance minister
okay.
after her resignation. So
Good. Good.
yeah, it like on what you were just saying, is he taking this seriously? Is he, what we call in the workplace quiet quitting, because of the election, he knows that, things are coming to an end because he doesn't have those, the liberals don't have that many seats anymore. You always see those polls. I know those polls can be wrong and sometimes can be right at times, but like
Like, are we about to
it just doesn't
become
look good because
a
uh,
predominantly conservative?
uh,
Uh,
yes, I do.
that's what I'm
I
wondering.
do,
Or,
I do
or,
think.
or could the NDP come in? Who knows? I'd be comfortable with
Yeah.
that. My biggest thing, like I said before, is having
Yeah.
a conservative leader be
Mhm.
a Trump supporter. We just don't
Are
need that right now.
are people ready for Jeremy Singh?
I know I am, but again,
Yeah.
here's what I'll say. Like I've had these kind of conversations before
Yep.
with my mom. I'm not sure how we got into this conversation. It was involving my brother as well, but
Hmm.
we were talking about
Hmm.
racism. And I said, listen, with the states, the racism
Yeah.
is so much more in your face. There's just unapologetically in your face.
Hmm.
With Canada, don't get it twisted. We have racism here too. It's just so much more quieter about it. If
Yeah.
we're not as in your face about it as maybe some parts of the states would be,
Yep.
especially in the South.
Hmm.
Um, so that's my concern.
Hmm.
As much as we pride on being multicultural,
Hmm.
only
Well,
when it suits us, though,
yeah.
as a country.
It's getting louder though. Like I'm seeing Trump flags
Racism, yeah.
in Canada as well. Like I see that racism as well. Like I'm seeing, like it's getting to that point where um it's I I want to say we're progressing, but we're also at the same time we're going backwards as well. You know,
Mhm.
so
There was this particular episode of a podcast that I
mm,
listened
mm,
to
mm,
was
mm,
before the election happened, but it was actually really insightful. And I
mm,
thought, like, there's the elements of that's partially a comedy podcast as well, but it was actually really insightful. And I'm going to implore anyone to listen to it,
right.
who maybe doesn't listen to this or thinks, oh, Trump is not that bad. It's it's called hold on, let me bring it up because I can't remember. I'm going to make sure I get
Right.
the right, and I want maybe even get the episode number as well so people can find it because I think it was really insightful. And when you look at the comparison between Trump and Hitler, it
Hmm.
was really scary.
Hmm.
And I think we need to take this really serious. So,
Hitler? Hitler?
because people
Mm,
compare the two. So it's strange and unexplained. It used to be a part of the Obsessed Network. I'm not sure if it still is.
Hmm.
We don't need to go into the backstory with that. I'm
Hmm.
sure
Right.
anyone who listens to any Obsessed Network podcast knows the drama. But this was, I believe, season 4. Let me just make sure. Season 4.
Hmm.
Okay, so not that one. Let me find it. Uh, yeah, so yeah, no, I can't seem to find it because it's not always named
Hmm.
proper. But
Well, if you just go in the search,
it's yeah,
the
it's
search.
Strange and Unexplained. It is
Hmm.
season 4.
Hmm.
It was prior
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
the election. I'm
Right.
still looking as I go, but it was really insightful in the sense of we talk about the similarities between these two
Hmm.
people, but when you actually when and how she did it, um, because again, it's hosted by Daisy Egan.
Hmm.
When you look at the comparison with how she did it, the episode, it was it was eerie. It was very eerie, the
Hmm.
similarities. And that's what scares me is just like Hitler,
Hmm.
who had his own flag,
Right.
um,
I mean,
that it just you need to take this
it,
seriously.
yeah, but with Hitler, he killed so many people. Do you think
And you
Trump
think Trump won't? You think
in the
Trump won't?
40s, and that's 4 years?
You think Trump wouldn't try?
Hmm.
I'm not necessarily saying it's
Yeah.
going to be um, as big of a genocide as
Yeah.
Hitler, but just like Hitler,
Hmm.
Hitler's targets were Jewish people.
Right.
Hitler's fixation
Hmm.
is, sorry, Trump's fixation is Islam, right?
Hmm.
Um, so that's the thing is there's a lot of similarities between these two.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and that's what's really scary.
Hopefully, I know their beliefs are similar, but like, hopefully, their actions are not similar, but like, hopefully he doesn't go that far and,
The point
kill.
of it too is
Yeah.
that we it kind of shows us we haven't learned anything as a populace, as a human race.
Yeah.
We didn't learn a damn thing from Hitler and the atrocities that
Hmm.
he put on mm, mainly Jewish people, but not just Jewish people, but
Right.
it we haven't learned anything. We haven't learned a
Yeah.
freaking thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sad.
Yeah.
So, what's the verdict come in this election? What do you think? Would there be a change or will there not be a change due to the situation with the.
What I think is it possible that Trudeau might not run again? It's possible. It's possible that this could be it.
Is
But at the same time, I also think that this is so far out from the next election
hmm.
that we're going to forget all of this even happened. It's going to become a footnote in Trudeau's, you know,
Yeah, we'll see.
legacy,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know? So I think both, it will happen both ways.
we'll see because it's not looking good for the Liberals and Justin Trudeau. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I only go based
Yeah. No,
on
I
policy.
understand that
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. I only go based on policy and see which party has the best policy. Liberals, Conservatives, NDP.
I also
What's
saw the Green Party in there too.
the Green Party? What's the French version of the Conservatives? What's that one? Do you know?
Isn't
If
it
you
not
know.
still conservatives? It's just in French,
Yeah, it's in French, but
but it's still conservatives.
yeah.
It's still the Conservative Party.
Okay, okay.
It's just
And
the French version.
okay, and the other party as well. The People, is it the People Party or yeah, the
Mm,
purple, the one purple.
I don't
Uh,
know. We have another party.
yeah, that's the.
The Purple Party?
Yeah, people. Let me just check that out and see if I got that right. If I remember, the last election it featured them, but they
Well,
weren't.
unfortunately, like the Green Party, they're forgetful.
Yeah, I mean they're not too. The Green Party are not too forgetful. They're
No, they just, nothing happens for them. It's
yeah,
okay. It's fine. One day you'll be heard too, Green Party. One day.
yeah. So it's a People Party of Canada.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
they had enough of the Liberals, Conservatives, and the NDP. Found out why more than 800,000 Canadians are choosing to politics differently. So,
Sure.
so like, yeah. So
Listen, I just
PPC.
want the whatever, whoever ends up being
Mhm.
prime minister, whether it's
Right.
Trudeau or someone else,
Right.
I just want whatever is best for this country.
Exactly.
And personally, I don't have an issue with the Conservative Party
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
as a whole,
Yeah.
but not if the leader of said Conservative Party is going to be a Trump supporter.
Mhm.
I don't agree with that part. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, you want somebody that's will
I want
fight
someone who
front.
is going to protect this country from
Mhm.
what is happening in the States currently with Trump and the president as president.
Mhm.
And I don't feel comfortable with that being the Conservative Party currently.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, obviously we'll have a coverage on the
Hmm.
2025 Canadian election when it happens. Um, but yeah, we'll see.
Okay. And that is it for the bonus. Again, I hope everyone enjoyed this. It's kind of what we'll kind of have the formatting be for the bonus episodes. Either it'll be just me or just Mikel or both of us together or, whatever. That's kind of how this formatting is going to be. But that is the end of the bonus episode for January. Again, if you like us, share with everybody, like us, subscribe, rate. Definitely go out there and rate for an Apple, Spotify. It helps with the algorithm. We want to get out there and share with your friends and family if you like us. If you want to connect with us, we have our website. Currently, still have our older website. We're going to be working on the new one still. That is going to be so the older one still is solo.to/next take podcast. You can also find us on socials. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Next Take Podcast and Twitter and TikTok at Next Take Pod. We also have our email address so you can contact us, and that is at mikeltanika@gmail.com. I think I've covered everything. Um, but yeah, that's basically it. The end of the episode. And we are going to be back again tomorrow with the next episode. So you don't have to wait for us too long, but we'll be back tomorrow for an episode. And that is it for me. Bye, everybody.